Hey guys, this is Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. I have a tag video here for you today. It is actually if I could only keep 10 palettes in my makeup collection. So super stressful to kind of think about, but I saw Annette's Makeup Corner do this video and she actually made it a tag video. And it definitely interests me to click on it because I've been thinking about filming this particular video for quite a while now. So I reached out to her. I was like, hey, do you mind if I do your tag? And she was like, girl, definitely go ahead and do it. So thank you to Annette's Makeup Corner. And I will link her channel down below so you can see what her picks were. So I have always thought about this. I have so many palettes. I think I have like 110, 110, yeah, somewhere around those lines, whatever. Don't judge my life. Anyway, so I was like, oh my God, if I could only keep 10 palettes, what would they be? And trust me, this was a really hard decision. But then at the same time, I was like, okay, a lot of my palettes are different, but then at the same time, I have a kind of some of the same color schemes. So it definitely lets me know what I like and what I don't like. And I kind of went about this video a little bit different than how Annette did it. She basically, she had one or two palettes that she was just like, you know what, I can't live without. And then she had a couple of palettes most of her palettes were from a very practical approach, like what would she need to complete looks. So my video is kind of like that. So about 5 of the palettes, and I'll let you know along the way which ones they are. I was like, I don't care what's going on. I'm not living without these palettes, okay? And then the other ones are like, okay, to create the kind of looks you want to create, you're going to need some of this. So let's go ahead and jump into the 10 palettes I would keep if, God forbid, I had to get rid of all my palettes. Lord Jesus, that would be horrible. Yeah, it would be horrible. I would still live, but it would be horrible. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm actually doing this in no particular order. I'm just picking up 10 palettes. I have them here on the floor because y'all know the table I use when I film is super tiny and I need to rectify that situation. So with no particular order, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the palettes and I'll let you know if it's a palette that I was like, I'm just not leaving here without. So this is a palette that if something happened to all my palettes, I'm like, I don't care. I'm having this palette and it's a gorgeous palette. So this palette is the Color Raine Safari Raine. And even though it's a 9-pan palette, I love it so much and I love Color Raine's formula. So for me, this is a palette that I had to have if I could only keep 10 palettes. This is what the color story looks like. And unfortunately, it is actually a limited edition palette, so I'm sorry, and it's not available. This palette actually came out, I want to say around February of this year, and it's beautiful. You have really vibrant oranges, you have greens, which I like a lot, and you have a gold, and you have a pewter shade, and you have a beautiful dark brown. So for me, part of the reason why I would keep this palette, because this is a palette that I generally love. It's one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I love the formula of Color Raine. And then these are shadow colors that gravitate to me. So I kind of said to myself, as long as I have like my coppery reds, my coppery bronzes, my greens, a turquoise, shimmer shade, a brown, some golds, purples, blues, and greens, and my red shades, I would pretty much be okay. So that's how I kind of went about choosing these palettes. So like I said, this is the Color Raine Safari Raine palette. And I'll just go ahead and swatch a couple shades for you. So let's go ahead and swatch the shade Tigress. And it's a little hard to see this palette, I'm sorry, because of the metallic gold background. So a shade that definitely interests me is the shade Tigress. It's so pretty. And then we have the shade Toucan. I feel like every time I wear Tigress, everybody's like, your eyes are popping. And then I love the shade Green Valley. And then you have some green mattes to just kind of round out your look. And it's just a stunning palette. And, you know, Colored Raine does not come to play when you're talking about the shimmers. And even some of the mattes are really, really nice too. So you know I love shadows with great formulas. So here are some of the swatches of the color Raine Safari Rain. The next palette up is actually the So Jaded palette by Kathleen Lights. And it's not because I feel like this is the greatest palette in the world. And it's I don't think it's a bad palette. And I've actually filmed 3 looks, 1 palette for this, but never got around to filming it. Or editing it rather. And it's because I don't have a lot of palettes that have a whole lot of shadows. Most of my palettes are 12, they're 9 pan, 15 pan, and this palette gives us 30 shades. So I was like, if I can only keep 10 palettes, I need something with a lot of shades in it. So the only other palettes that I have are maybe like my Juvia's Place palettes when we talk about Masquerade, or the Masquerade, and then I can't think of it. It's the one with the cool tone and the warm tones at the top. You know, I'll put the name at the corner. But I got some repeating shades in that one, so that's why I didn't put Masquerade in, because Masquerade almost went in. But I said, okay, I have my purple, I have a navy blue matte, I have a turquoise matte, I have a light blue shimmer, I have a gray toned matte, which I love. I have my browns, I have my warm oranges transition, I have a mustard, I have a garnet color, I have my rain ruby red color, I have a little, you know, super shock shadow. I have a couple of glitters if I want to dabble in it. So I was like, this would be a good palette because I'm definitely getting some smoky tones. I'm getting some jewel tones. And as you can see, I love jewel tones. And if you're wondering real quick what I have on my eyes, is actually this little baby. This is the Alma palette that comes out Black Friday. This is the collab between Amy Loves Makeup and Amy Hearts Beauty, and that video should be up. But I said, okay, I will have a wide variety. I can do smoky eye looks that I love, especially with like purples and blues and turquoises. I love those type of smoky looks. Or I can do some very wearable daytime looks. So I said, okay, this is a palette where I would get great use out of these 30 shades and give me some variety, because remember, I'm only keeping 10 palettes, so I'm going to kind of need to make sure that I have enough shadows to play with. It is no secret that I love Pat McGrath laps. So if I can only keep 10, this palette must come with me. This is a palette that I love so much, and unfortunately it is limited edition, and I'm talking about Mothership 4 Decadence palette. I absolutely love this palette. This is one of my favorite Mothership palettes, and this is the all metallic version. Now these metallics are smooth, they're creamy, I've said a million times over, and you can blend them out. So with this palette, I have this beautiful gold shade. I don't have my little name card with me right now, but this shadow right here is so pretty. It's such a pretty melony gold, where I can definitely do very appropriate daytime looks to go to work. And then if I want to go out at night, I have my beautiful navy blue shade right here. That is also beautiful. Then I have my shade called Hedonistic, and you guys know I love a good red shade. So this one is red with some duochrome action. It is gorgeous. This is one of the main reasons why I bought the palette, this one right here, and I'm oh so glad. Then I can do a couple cool tone looks because I have this, sorry. Then I can do a couple cool tone looks because I have this shadow right here, I have this, I have a cool tone gold, I have a bright gold, and I have a silver. So I said, okay, this will give me a lot of jewel tones. It'll give me that blue that I love. It'll give me a dark blue, gold, wearable tones, and you know, some of the tones that I just absolutely love wearing on a daily basis. And not to mention, I just love this palette. It's one of my favorite palettes in my collection, so yeah, I'm just not going without it. Then another palette that I recommend all the time, I think it's a fabulous palette, and it's very wearable, it's very diverse, and it's one of the larger palettes of my collection. So I picked up, I would say, Born to Run by Urban Decay would have to come with me. Not to mention, this is one of the best palettes that Urban Decay has formulated, and I'm so glad that this is permanent, because back in the day they had those Vice palettes, but the Vice palettes, they were cool, but then when you start learning about better formulas, you're like, these are not that great. But this palette is great. So I figured I have smoky jewel tones right here in the corner. So we got a theme. I got smoky jewel tones. I have everyday shades. You know, I love a coppery shade. I love this shade Accelerate. This is a palette that I take with me traveling all the time because I can do a wide variety of looks with one palette. Then I don't have a lot of palettes that have very deep browns in it. So I said I have the shade Good Is Gone right here. and then I have the shade Punk. So I have two really deep browns to work with. So that makes me happy. Not to mention, I think only one other palette that I picked up actually has a black in it. And, you know, I'm like, if I'm only keeping 10 palettes, it's going to be a time I'm like, I want a black. And this is a really nice black because it's like a satin black. And it's the shade called Jet. And it's not that standard shade that Urban Decay used to put in their palettes all the time. It's called Blackout. And then you have some light whimsical shades. I have a lot of transition options up here. And I have some purples and some magentas, which I love. And I just, like, all around, I have a great palette. And like I said, it's one of the bigger palettes in my collection. So I'm like, I got to maximize my potential. I can't, you know, have all these 9-pan palettes in there if I only get to keep 10. Another palette that I'm not living without is my Color Raine Power collab. And then this one should still be available as limited edition. But hands down, this is one of the best purple palettes I've ever put my hands on, okay? And I absolutely love it. You have 4 mattes. They're purpley goodness. And like I said before, Color Raine's formula is phenomenal. So I love the Queen of Hearts palette, but like I said, I have a lot of those kind of repeating shades in here. So I wanted to have some things that were kind of unique and things that I really, really, truly love. And this is one of my favorite Color Raine palettes. So like the shade Truth is bomb.com, and it kind of also reminds me of that shade that's called Purple Rain in La Vie en Rose, which is one of my favorite palettes. But I was like, okay, I gotta narrow it down, you know, I gotta kind of have all of my favorite shades and all of my color schemes that I would love to have. Look at that shade right there. I'm definitely running out of arm space. And then we have the shade Betrayal, which is a beautiful raspberry tone. And I definitely have it's 3 looks. I mean, just look how vibrant that is. And then you also have your duochromes, which are going to give you some fun shade shifting properties and can also just create more looks. It's right there. And then I have my shade Revenge, which is one of those coppery rose gold coppery rose gold. I don't know how to, I just love this shade so much, and it's a shade that I can wear to work. So, and it has some duochrome action. Then I have a dark purple. So this is a 9-pan palette. I was like, yes, I have it. Plus I can combine it with the other palettes that I have going on here that will really, you know, just set off the look. Now this is another palette I'm not living without. It is Mothership 5 by Pat McGrath. This color scheme is gorgeous. And so I absolutely love this palette and I use it all the time. As you can kind of see, it's you know, I definitely use it. So what I love about this palette so much, you have a dark aubergine color that you can put in the crease and smoke things out. Then you have these beautiful golds right here. You have this dark gold. Now this shade, to be honest, is not my favorite. This shade can leave the palette and I will be okay. Now, but you do have this shade. It's actually the same formula as this. I don't enjoy this particular formula as much, but this shade is definitely beautiful when you wear it on its own. Then you have these beautiful brown mattes. You have something that's a little bit lighter, and then you definitely have this darker matte right here. But what stands out is like, okay, I have my beautiful other red shade that I love so much. This shade is so vibrant, so pretty. And I have these beautiful duochromes. I have a rose gold. I have a gold, this one is green and pinky gold. And then this one is white and green gold. So I have something for my greens that I love so much. I have my red vibrant shade that is beautiful. I have a lighter shade up here where I can just kind of do some upper brow highlights. So I was like, I can get a lot of looks out of this. And this is a palette that I love and one of my favorite palettes in my collection. Now this palette, I was looking, I like it, but I haven't really used it a lot. And I said, okay, now I have all these fiery, hot, particular tones. I said, okay, I'm only going to be able to keep 10 palettes. So I need something a little springy or something a little bit light just to kind of make some different looks. And I pulled out my Violet Voss Flamingo palette. Okay, this palette released the year after last, and I think it is still available. But in here, I have some very light whimsical shades, and that it's appropriate for summer and the spring, and just to kind of give me some different looks, because all my purples are so dark, all my turquoises are dark. But in here I do also have some fun mattes. Like I have the shade Popsicle and Sunbathe, I have Sandals, I have my shades that I love so much like Pinwheel. I guess I'll stick it up here. And then I also have another black to deal with. I have a light transition shade. I have a yellow. I have this corally shade. And then I have some very light dual chromes across the top, where pinks and purples. I have also, so I just feel like it was going to give me a wide variety of shades and add something different to the color story of shadows that I could keep. And like I said, I literally laid all my palettes out that I was in. I was interchanging. I was like, okay, we can keep So Jaded. Let's take Masquerade out by Juvia's Place. I said I had Tribe in there at one point. I said, let's take the Tribe palette out, even though I love it so much. But I was like, it has a couple of crossover shades with the Safari Raine, and I enjoy that formula a lot more. And then I said, okay, but I really like this bronze shade in the Tribe. But I said, okay, I kind of have that with the Pat McGrath, and then I have the duochrome. So this is like really the thought process I put out here. And I was just like, let me just lay it out, change some things in. So coming up with this next palette, I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of cool tone palettes in my collection, and that's like, I don't really enjoy them as much. So I decided to put this palette in there because I wanted some cool tone stuff sometimes, especially if I'm only keeping 10. But you know, I love Pat McGrath, and I'm not just putting this in there because it's Pat McGrath, but I'm also putting it in there because I really don't have a lot of cool tone palettes. I have the Naked 2, which is cool tone, and I might have one or two others that are cool tone, but they're really more all monochromatic. But if you're gonna have a cool tone palette, you might as well just have the Mothership 2 or Mothership 1. Yeah, Mothership 1, and the formula might as well be bomb because we're only going to be able to keep 10 palettes, okay? So, once again, I have a very vibrant blue. Excuse me, I love blue. So I was like, okay, that's great. I have a nice pale gold. I have this beautiful shade right here that shifts. And then I also have this purpley blue duochrome. And then I have some mattes. I have another black. I have a matte brown. I have a matte lavender, cooler toned, light brown shade. So I was like, I have some options to work with and to mix and match, especially when we throw in like the So Jaded palette, because there's a lot of different tones in there, and some of them do lean cool tone. So I said I definitely need to put this palette in there because I don't have a lot of cool tone palettes. So I was like, I definitely need to have this in here. We are almost done, so I have 2 more palettes. So, like I said, this was super stressful to just film and just think about. So, this is a palette right here that I love, and it's one of my favorite palettes in my collection, and this is the Colourpop Good Sports palette. So, this color scheme is just so interesting. It's vibrant, it's orange, it's not a lot of brown, and you have this shade right here called Rookie. I'm like looking at my hands, they're so dirty. This is a beautiful coppery tone shade, and it has blue reflex in it. I love this palette. This is literally one of the best palettes of last year. This is literally one of Colourpop's best palettes ever, if you ask me. And I really enjoy the 9-pan palettes that are small, and I really love some of those, but I really wanted to put like the melon palette in here, but I was like, I can't have another 9-pan palette. So then I have this shade called Licious. I have a nice champagne shade because I don't have a lot of that, except for I do have maybe 1 or 2 in the So Jaded palette. I have some beautiful mattes that like Flow and Reckless and Sister that are purple in nature that I like. I also have this great grungy green that I love so much. It's called Trophies. And then this shade Hooked and EBB. I was like, yeah, I can't live without. Here's Hooked. Here's EBB. I mean, my arm is filled, but you know, you get the drill. So I think I put Hooked up there, and EBB is right in there in the middle. But I have those. Then I also have one of my favorite transition shades, 2 of them. And I actually pulled this palette out when I'm doing like maybe single shadow looks, and I need a nice crease color or something, like maybe whatever I'm using might not be giving me what I look wanting for. Is called High Hopes. And this shade Hooky, beautiful orange brown tones on my skin complexion. So I love this palette so much. This palette was definitely like, I think it was hyped up enough, but it really wasn't hyped up as it needs to be. And that's probably part of Colourpop's fault because they just released so freaking much. I think like this release came out and then, you know, 2 days later they released something else. So, but this palette is bomb. I love it so much. And this is a palette that I cannot go without if I can only keep 10 palettes. Okay, last but not least, I have another palette by Juvia's Place. And this is the Nomad palette. This palette is newer to me, but I picked this palette because it's very grungy in nature, okay? And it's a little bit cooler tone. So like I said, I don't have a lot of cool tone palettes in my collection. Like I said, I have the Naked 2, but that's all literally like one shade. And if I can only keep 10, you know, I need something that's going to give me some versatility. So I picked this because I definitely have some mustard shades. I have that baby pukey green shade, so that kind of calmed my nerves about getting the tri palette out. I have this very army green with the matte. I have this beautiful shade. This shade is actually so stunning. Does this shade have, no, this palette doesn't have shade names. So this is stunning. I'm going to throw it right here. Okay, that is a horrible swatch of it. First of all, it's in a horrible spot, but okay. There you go. It's blinding. It's a beautiful shade. Beautiful. So I felt like I would get a wide variety of looks and it would appease my need to have grungy tones. And then I could put this together along with the Good Sport and I would definitely have some looks going here. And then a couple along with my Mothership 1 palette. It would definitely work out for me. So that was the thought process about putting this in here. Like I said, it's a 9-pan palette. But like I said, I don't have a lot of 9.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Ain't nobody asked you
Take
to
a
connect
look
to
at the help section in your Alexa app.
Alexa, be quiet. Nobody was talking to you. They didn't even call your name. How rude. Alexa, she's on something. I'm gonna have to disable her. But so I hope you guys have enjoyed my choices and see the thought process around my choices. And you kind of look by my arm. This is the color scheme I'm working with, minus a couple of shades. So I'm very happy about this color scheme. Like I said, as long as I have my greens, I got my fiery reds, I have my fiery oranges, I have my blues, and I have my purples. As far as color, I feel like I would be okay. And I have that. Then I got my transition ones and some of the special shades that just mean so much to me. And then I have at least good 5 palettes that I'm like, okay, I cannot talk about parting with this palette. So I would be okay in that nature. So I feel like I have some really good formulas. And it kind of is like how I feel about my collection in general, or even just like my top 3 eyeshadow brands. If, you know, if I could only keep 3 brands in my collection, we're kind of basically there. Yeah, it's in here, basically. Pat McGrath, Colourpop, and Raine. If I just had to pick like 3 brands in my collection that I could only keep, and then we have a couple others mixed in. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Let me know down below, what are the palettes that you would have to keep if you had to get rid of your eyeshadows? Like, I hope nobody ever makes you do that. That's just cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, I know I got a lot of palettes, but I mean, just whatever. It's not the point. But so this is a tag video, so I'm going to tag a couple of people, right? So I'm going to tag Karen Harris Makeup. I'm going to tag Lulu from Aging Gorgeously. I'm going to tag Amy Loves Makeup. And anybody else who wants to do the tag, just join on in. You know, let's keep it going. Give this video a big thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel because you know I would love to have you here, and you know what time it is. It's time for the chair dance. Chair dance. Chair dance. All right, y'all. Bye.